there's a thing going on out there where people are asking the question, is Pope Francis the Antichrist? Is Pope Francis an anti-pope? They're not the same thing at all, but they're parallel in each other. And it's sad to see because there's a Calvinist YouTuber that I follow called Reformed Wiki 2.0. And he made a video recently doing the same canard, the same trope, the same bad line about is the Catholic Church the whore of Babylon? Asking if the Pope is the Antichrist or the best example of the Antichrist. And he was arguing against the scholarly academic claim that Nero is the Antichrist because he matches 666. He's arguing against historical criticism. Okay, fine. Let's go that route and let's attack that, right? Except my army, my church militant, is a little bit short because there are Catholics making the exact same argument with very similar formulations about corruption, about misappropriation of liturgy, of saying slightly the wrong thing that shows the mask is off, that kind of thing, the mask slipping, right? But these are Catholics who are doing it. And they don't even claim to be rad trad. But they don't claim to be rad trad. They're just Catholic YouTubers. And it's the same crowd. It's Tyler Marshall. It's Patrick Coffin. It's Michael Voris. You know who it is. I mean, if you watch Catholic YouTube and you are someone who hates my channel, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But I got a question for them. And this is part of a little bit of a longer video, I know. But my question is, what about if you're going to say Pope Francis is invalid and you're not going to go for the technicalities that Patrick Coffin's going for, you're just going straight heretic, right? Well, what about the Borgias? What about the Medici? Because the Medici popes and the Borgia popes, now that was some real corruption. There's a really bad, ugly period in the Middle Ages, which is when the Reformation happened. And a lot of people believe that this corruption led into the Reformation or made the Reformation worse or whatever. So that's my first question to you is, was the Medici Pope and was the Borgia Pope or popes, were they legitimate? Or are they real popes? Or are you sedevacantists? Now, if they are real popes and they are legitimate popes, then Pope Francis is a legitimate pope, regardless of the scandals involved. But there's a second question, which is, you all seem to keep on saying that he's the worst pope ever. Do you honestly think Pope Francis is a worse pope than the Borgia Pope? The images that most of us see of Jesus and Mary are the children of the Borgia Pope. That's Cesare Borgia. That's Lucrezia Borgia. In those images that we still use today, the blonde hair, blue-eyed Jesus, that's Cesare. The young, very pale-skinned Mary with the lambs, that's Lucrezia. So, are you saying that this pope, this current pope, is more corrupt than that pope? And then there comes the other problem, which is the sex abuse scandals. So you have Pope John Paul II, who's a saint who I admire. You have Pope Benedict, who have all been popes while the abuse scandal is either ongoing or still being adjudicated. And you have the previous pope before Pope John Paul. Okay? So There's a lot there. Are you going to say that these scandals, which are horrific, are somehow what? Are you saying that the sex crimes that were done in the 1500s don't count because it was the 1500s? Then there's the problem of the Inquisition and the problem of the Crusades and what Christians did in the name of the church that the church itself has apologized for. Not just Pope Francis, but Pope John Paul has condemned as being wrong acts. No. Maybe you'll say, well, the Pope kissing the Quran was a mistake, and his apology was a mistake. Is that really where you want to go? So I'm going to get into this. I'm going to tell a personal story, and then I'm going to wrap it up and try and bring everything together. But I just want to bring that up. I want to ask these two questions in the front. Are the Medici and Borgia popes legitimate? And if they are legitimate, do you think they are better or worse popes than Pope Francis? Because your argument is that Pope Francis is the worst pope of all time. I would say those popes would be much worse than Pope Francis. But for now, as you watch this video, ask yourself those two questions as I get into my personal story. Because I think there's something to be said about forgiveness. There's something to be said about charity and patience. Because if we were going to hold the church, if we're going to hold the church and the Pope accountable for its worst actions, and you're going to only look at those, then you're going to have a lot of problem with getting converts, and you're going to have a lot of problem with people coming into the faith and accepting the faith. And you're going to have a whole lot of problems with who qualifies as a good pope or a true pope. You're going down a route that's not very wise. To win a point that might not even matter in 10 years, because there will be another pope after this pope, and there will be another general ecumenical council eventually. A battle that might not even be relevant in 5 or 10 years as a new pope and a new council is held. Michael Voris, unfortunately, Patrick Coffin, who I look up to. When I started this channel, one of the people I was looking to for how to do it was Patrick Coffin, because he had just left Catholic Answers. He was on a hiatus for a while, and I was like, we need a Catholic voice. So when I started doing Catholic stuff on here, there was a question of, do I show my face? Do I do animation? At the time, nobody used their real name on YouTube. Nobody showed their face on YouTube. But I went with some inspiration from Patrick Coffin, and I was like, I'm just going to go all out. Obviously, my channel didn't go that way, but I was hoping it would. I was hoping it was going to go big, right? And then there's this other guy, David Anderson. Hello, Mr. Anderson. Sorry, David L. Gray. And a few other, you can call them rad trads. I'm pretty sure not Timothy Marshall, but the other guy. And Dr. Tyler Marshall. These guys. Hot dog it. Okay. It's no secret that, especially if you look at my videos back when they were more popular, I have a more liberal view of theology, a more liberal view of politics. Most of my friends are nonconformist, but I'm Catholic and I'm Republican. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in the right to bear arms. And I believe in those kind of concepts. So the Constitution matters to me. So yeah, I come across as very Republican in those manners. And when it comes to religion, I really do believe in the Ten Commandments. I really do trust in the New Testament. I read the Church Fathers. I'm currently doing a series where I'm reading through Trent. But if you look at my channel, you'll notice I've come up against the rat trads, and I've come up against the more conservative and more popular Catholic YouTubers. One in particular that I'm not going to mention. And I'm very upset at the way that they downplay things like the Inquisition and the Reconquista. Not for anything less than the fact that it's actually affected my direct family. There are name lists of my family where they were directly affected by the Reconquista and by the Inquisition. We're on list. We're on Jewish list, Sephardic list. So that's some scary stuff, man. And to see people downplay that really hurts. And to see my fellow Christians and Catholics downplay that is just downright insulting. I'll tell a personal story in a second. I know what you're saying. What does this have to do with the Pope? Just stay with me. My father's side is Sephardic, Jewish in their ancestry. My mother's side, on the other hand, is Native American, which a whole other set of atrocities were done to them in the name of Christ, in the name of the church. Whether it's Puritans and Protestants in the north, or whether it was Catholics in Central America, my people did not do well on either side of my ancestry. When I was a child, my mother and my sister died. And I'll show you. This is the reason why I left the church for so long, by the way. Even though I still believed in God, I was not a practicing Catholic for a very long time, until I was about 33, because of this. So my mother and my sister died. That's not the reason why I left the church. I was fine. I was good. I was good. That didn't mess me up. But, and I went to a new school after that happened. And it was Mother's Day. And for a grade, you had to take a photo that says, "Mother, I love you," or something like that, or "I love you, Mom." And I said, "No, I won't take it. I refuse to take it." And so she got very upset. She put me up in front of the class and said, "Why won't you take it?" And I said, "Well, because my mother's dead." And now all the faces, just shocked, right? Including some children that were Christian, because I live in a Catholic community. So you can guess what religion they were of. From there, you can, Well, they made me take the photo. Here. That is not a happy kid. But that's not the end of the issue. See, the next day when I came to school, 3 boys, 3 guys, jumped me. They cornered me first, and they said, "Say it's not true." I say it's not true. Say something like, "Say what's not true?" I said, "Well, we went to our parents yesterday. We told them what you said, and they said that you're lying, that parents don't die." And they beat the crap out of me. There's no other way to put it. They hit me here, bashed my head against a pylon. I ended up in the hospital. End of my happy childhood right there and then. I would never fit in again with anyone after that. So I stopped going to church. I just did. I didn't like being there. I didn't like being around people. I didn't like being around churchgoers. I just saw the hypocrisy and everything. And I left the church. I still believed in God. I still eventually read the Bible. I still eventually came back to Catholicism and practiced the liturgy of the hours and divine office and all that kind of good stuff, right? Still have a channel where even at 25 views of video, I'm still talking about my love of God and defending it against atheists who I respect. So I'm defending my faith in the Bible against atheists who I respect. I'm going to make a very strong statement in the Catholic world, and for everyone who's not watching this, or everyone who's not Catholic, it's not a strong statement at all. I support Pope Francis. I support Pope Francis. I like Pope Francis. He is my second favorite pope. My first favorite pope would be Pope John Paul II. Now, I know what you're saying, but you read Trent, you read, all this other stuff. You read the Catechism, you read the Church Fathers, but you can go back and watch my videos before I had my confirmation, and you can see before I went through RCIA, before I went through confirmation, that where I had liberal theological views. So that's why you like them. Well, no, I've become more conservative. The more you read the Church Fathers, the more you conform to Orthodox teaching. It's just impossible. It's impossible to read the Church Fathers and not come to more orthodoxy, regardless of your stance. Regardless of where you begin, you read the Church Fathers, you're going to come to the conclusion that orthodoxy or traditional Catholicism is true. You just are. It's like reading the Bible. You're going to come to, if you read the Old Testament, you're going to come to the conclusion that it's talking about Judaism. You read the New Testament, you're going to come to the conclusion that it's talking about Christianity. Only if you're a contradictorian, only if you absolutely hate it or you have an exogram, will you come to a different conclusion than those two things. So when I say I support Pope Francis, I'm saying that knowingly. I'm saying that I understand that there's some problems with things like the Pachamama statue and stuff like that, right? Yet there's some things wrong with Saint Pope John Paul II. See, he was Pope during the height of the sex abuse scandal. At the height, in the 70s and the 80s, when the abuses were the worst, he was Pope, not Pope Francis. There's this horrible, horrible turn that this Mormon that I used to respect took. And when he started off looking into Catholicism, it was okay. Whatever. I knew he wasn't going to convert, but, I thought at least give it respect. But no, he's become anti-Catholic and he's become a bigot. And he puts all the sex abuse scandal guilt on not the perpetrators, but on the current Pope. But the thing is that the current Pope isn't the Pope who was Pope during the time of those scandals. I'm not saying there's not still abuses going on now. I'm not saying there weren't abuses before. But at the height of the scandals, two of the best popes in history, both Pope John Paul II and his predecessor, were Pope. So no one in the Catholic faith is going to deny the sanctity of Pope John Paul II. And we shouldn't doubt the integrity of Pope Francis. Yeah, he's not the previous Pope. You're right. He's not a theologian. He's not a philosopher, at least not in that sense. But he's pastoral. And he speaks to people like me, people who have been hurt by people like you, people who had good intentions in telling their children an easy lie to protect them. You can tell an easy lie about the church, that the church is always good. You can tell an easy lie that the Reconquista and that the Crusades had good reasons behind them, good intentions to protect the souls of the people. But they were wrong. They were acts of evil that were done in the name of our church. And those can't just be excused. They can be forgiven, but they can't be brushed over. They can be let go, but they can't be forgotten. We, as the church, hurt people. We did. Now, were they people acting rightly in the church? No. No, the priests who did the abuse scandals were not being good Catholics or good Christians. The pastors who are not Catholic, who do these same things, are not being good Christians when they're doing evil stuff like stealing people's money or having affairs or destroying women's lives or destroying children's lives. No, it's not a good act. In the same way, when the church went after Jewish people, or people acting in the name of the church did that, that was not right. My favorite church father is St. John Christensen. Well, he has a lot of anti-Semitic stuff to say. And I have to reconcile that. I have to deal with that my favorite church father has a lot of anti-Jewish bias. You're going to have to reconcile that if you're truly Catholic and you truly believe that the church will endure as Jesus promised, that Pope Francis is your Pope, whether you like what he does or not. All right. I will be continuing on with my Council of Trent, with my examination of the Council of Trent. I hope you guys are watching that series. I know it's not the series that some people were hoping for. I will get to the Quran again. Don't worry, it's coming. And I will be finishing up the Book of Revelation at some point. But again, I don't do apologetics on this channel. I read whatever I want to read. I plan on examining the Book of Mormon. I plan on examining some ancient Chinese literature. Right now I'm doing The Journey West, the Monkey King. That's what I'm currently reading. So there's going to be other material. And eventually I'll get through the Bible. I mean, it's only a very long collection of books.